You really have no idea what you have done. I will drag her out by the hair!
The old black woman on the marble steps didn't move, didn't flinch.
You smell like pork.
Preston Whitmore laughed behind his mother.
Mom, look at her shoes, oh my God. She brought a picture book, Catherine, a picture book.
Disgusting. Who let her pass the gate?
Eleanor Holbrook's voice was quiet, steady. I have an invitation.
I don't care what you have. You don't belong here. Look at yourself.
Eleanor looked down at her beige dress, then back up. She said nothing. What Catherine didn't know. Eleanor's phone was already recording, and her son was already listening. And in 40 minutes, he'd erase $900 million in one phone call. Let me back up. Let me show you who these people actually were before that driveway. 40 minutes earlier, on the 34th floor of a glass tower in Midtown Atlanta, Malcolm Holbrook was laughing into his phone. Mama, stop! You did not say that to Mrs. Henderson. I did. In front of her dog? In front of the dog, the husband, and the mailman. Malcolm pressed his palm to his forehead, still laughing. His office was quiet that Saturday morning. Warm October light spilled across dark hardwood. No awards on the walls, no framed magazine covers, no trophy wall of handshakes with governors and senators. Just one thing on the desk, in a plain wooden frame. A faded photograph of a young black woman in a teacher's cardigan holding 3 small boys at a Little League game. Decatur, 1994. I have to go soon, Mama. You sure you don't want me to come pick you up? I'm a grown woman, Malcolm. I can drive myself to a party. You are the party. Oh, stop. I love you, Mama. Call me when you get there. I love you too, baby. He set the phone face down on the desk, smiled for one more second, then opened his laptop. A single email waited in his inbox, sent by his COO, Warren Sutton, at 7:12 that morning. Whitmore signing confirmed. Monday, 11 a.m. The $900 million facility closes this quarter. They still don't know it's us. Malcolm read it, nodded once, closed the laptop. Because here's the thing about Malcolm Holbrook. The man owned Atlanta, and Atlanta didn't know it. Holbrook Capital Partners, $4.2 billion under management, 18 portfolio companies, a credit desk that could crash a mid-cap stock before lunch and buy it back cheaper by dinner. But Malcolm? He wore dark jeans on Saturdays, drove a used Lexus that was older than his assistant, and every Sunday, without exception, he drove to Decatur to eat pot roast at his mother's kitchen table. Now let me tell you about that mother. Eleanor Holbrook, 68 years old, retired third-grade teacher, 31 years at a Title I elementary school in a zip code most of her current neighbors couldn't find on a map. She'd raised 3 boys by herself after her husband died in 1991, worked summers at a grocery store, tutored on weekends, got every one of those boys through college without a single loan she couldn't pay off. She lived in a small brick ranch in Decatur, drove a 2014 Honda Civic, refused every single car Malcolm ever tried to buy her. I don't need a Mercedes, baby. I need tires. That Saturday morning, Eleanor stood in front of her bathroom mirror for almost an hour. She'd been invited to something called the Teachers of Excellence Gala at the Whitmore estate in Buckhead. Her old principal had put her name on the honoree list as a lifetime recognition. She'd never been to Buckhead. She owned one formal dress, beige, from Dillard's, purchased in 2019 for a great-niece's wedding. She did her hair carefully, put on small gold earrings, her mother's, pulled a children's book off her shelf, Brown Bear, What Do You See? She'd taught with that book for over 2 decades. Inside the cover, she'd written notes for the Whitmore Foundation's new reading library. Margin comments about which pages made kids laugh, which pages scared the quiet ones, which ones unlocked the kid who wouldn't speak. She wrapped it in yellow paper herself, tied a thin ribbon, placed it gently in her tote bag. Now let me tell you about the Whitmores. Gregory Whitmore, 61, third-generation industrialist, CEO of Whitmore Industrial Holdings, HVAC components, logistics contracts, defense subcontracting. On paper, $2 billion in revenue. Off paper, drowning. Credit downgrade last spring. Pension fund underwater. 3 bond covenants trembling. The only thing keeping the family's name off a default filing was a $900 million revolving credit facility set to close Monday morning, anchored, quietly, through 3 offshore shell companies, by a private equity firm whose name Gregory Whitmore had never once spoken out loud. Catherine Whitmore, 58, his wife. Old Atlanta money. Ran the Whitmore Foundation like her own personal kingdom. Threw 4 charity galas a year that were really networking parties for her country club friends. The caterers called her Miss Catherine, she who must be suffered. And Preston, their son, 33, VP of nothing in particular. Eleanor pulled into their driveway behind a line of Bentleys. She smoothed her dress, straightened her ribbon, and walked up toward the marble steps. The butler at the door was a young white man in a black vest. He looked Eleanor up and down the way you'd look at a shoe you stepped on. "Ma'am, the service entrance is around the back." Eleanor smiled politely. "Oh, no, sir. I'm a guest. I have an invitation." "Ma'am, I really think you want the back." "Jonathan!" A woman's voice, sharp as broken glass. "What is taking so long?" Catherine Whitmore swept into the foyer in a cream silk dress that cost more than Eleanor's car. Her blonde hair was pulled into a chignon so tight it looked painful. She saw Eleanor. She saw the beige dress. She saw Dillard's tote. And her entire face recalibrated in real time. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Eleanor Holbrook, ma'am. I was invited to the—" "By whom?" "By Principal Dorothy Avery. She submitted my name as a Teachers of Excellence honoree. I taught at Sumner Elementary for—" "Hand me that." Catherine snapped her fingers. Eleanor didn't understand. Catherine snapped again. "The invitation, in your hand. Give it to me." Eleanor handed it over. Cream cardstock, gold embossing. Catherine read it once, read it twice. A muscle in her jaw twitched. She handed it back the way you hand back something you found in the trash. "This is clearly a clerical error." "Ma'am, did you hear me? I said error." 2 other guests had drifted into the foyer now. A blonde couple holding champagne flutes. They stopped walking. Eleanor felt them behind her like a wall. Catherine raised her voice just slightly, just enough. "We don't usually invite people who dress like that to stand inside this house." The blonde woman behind Eleanor laughed. An actual laugh. The sound of a bell in a hollow room. Eleanor's hand tightened around the tote strap. She lifted her chin. "I was a teacher for 31 years, ma'am. I'd just like to take my seat." "You don't have a seat." Preston Whitmore came jogging down the grand staircase in a blazer and no tie, carrying a whiskey at 11 in the morning. He took one look at Eleanor and grinned. "Oh, this is good. Mom, Mom, is this the one who got lost on the way to the bus stop?" "Preston?" "No, seriously. Where'd you park the bus, ma'am? Out by the—" "I drove, sir." "You drove? In what?" "A Honda Civic." Preston howled. He actually put his hand on his knee and howled like she'd told him the funniest joke of his life. A Honda Civic! Oh my God! In our driveway! Mom, somebody call AAA! I don't want her leaking oil on the pavers. The blonde couple laughed again. Someone else joined them. A woman in emerald silk, glass of rosé in hand, drifted in from the sitting room to see what was happening. Eleanor stood perfectly still, back straight, eyes level. Her tote slipped on her shoulder. The ribbon on the wrapped gift caught on the strap. The book slid out halfway. Preston's hand shot forward and yanked it free. Hold on, hold on. He turned the package over, read the spine through the yellow paper. Oh my God. Mother, look. It's a picture book. She brought a picture book. He held it up like evidence at a trial. Brown bear, what do you see? Is this a gift? Ma'am, is this supposed to be a gift? It's for the library, sir. For the foundation's... Catherine, she's donating a library book. This is amazing. This is the best day of my life. Catherine wasn't laughing. Catherine's face had moved past irritation now, past annoyance, into something colder, something final. She stepped forward until she was 3 feet from Eleanor's face, close enough that Eleanor could smell her perfume, white flowers and something bitter underneath. Get that trash off my lawn. The foyer went silent. Before I call someone who'll drag her out by the hair. The woman in emerald silk lowered her glass. The butler Jonathan suddenly found the floor very interesting. Even Preston's grin faltered for half a second, caught off guard by the word. Eleanor looked at Catherine for a long moment. Then she bent down, slowly. Her knees weren't what they used to be, and picked up the wrapped book from where Preston had let it slip to the marble floor. She smoothed the ribbon, tucked it back in her tote. And she said, so softly that everyone in the room had to lean in to hear it. Ma'am, I have taught children for 31 years. I have never, in my life, called another human being trash. She paused. I hope that isn't contagious. Catherine's entire face went the color of raw liver. Harold! She didn't yell it. She didn't need to. The word traveled. Harold Bradshaw appeared from the side hall within 20 seconds. Mid-50s, broad shoulders under a Navy security blazer. Retired Fulton County Patrol, 23 years on the job, now pulling private work for the Whitmores at triple his pension. He had kind eyes that he was trying very hard to make unkind. Mrs. Whitmore, escort this woman off the property. She's trespassing. Harold looked at Eleanor, at her beige dress, at her Dillard's tote, at her gold earrings. He looked at the invitation still in her hand. His jaw tightened. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me. Sir, I know, ma'am, I know you do. He said it quietly, just to her. Then louder for Catherine. Let's go, ma'am, this way. He put his hand on Eleanor's upper arm. Not cruelly, but not gently either. His grip was the grip of a man who had been told, without being told, that he was one refusal away from losing his job. Eleanor felt his fingers close around her bicep. She felt the bruise forming before they'd taken 3 steps. A gasp came from behind her. The blonde woman in the green dress. Oh my God, he's... Keep walking, ma'am. Eleanor kept walking. They walked out of the foyer, down the marble steps, into the white October sunlight. The string quartet was still playing Vivaldi. Caterers paused by the tent. One of them, a young black woman, put her hand over her mouth. Another one, a Latino guy in chef's whites, watched with his jaw set hard. Nobody moved. The gravel crunched under Eleanor's flat shoes. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Past the row of Bentleys, past her own Honda Civic, and then past it, still walking. "Sir," she said, "my car is right there." "Mrs. Whitmore wants to make sure you don't have anything that isn't yours." "Sir, I've been on the property for 11 minutes. "I know, ma'am." "Sir, please." "Keep walking." What Catherine didn't know, what Preston didn't know, what Harold definitely didn't know. 3 minutes earlier, at the exact moment Catherine first raised her voice in the foyer, Eleanor had pressed a single button on her phone from inside her tote. Call Malcolm. Her son had set up auto-record on all her calls last Christmas after a string of scam artists had targeted her landline. Every call over 10 seconds saved to his server. Every call she placed, he could pick up. He had picked up on the second ring. He hadn't said a word. He'd listened to Catherine Whitmore say, "We don't invite people who dress like that." He'd listened to Preston laugh about the Honda Civic. He'd listened to his mother's voice. His mother's voice. The voice that had sung him to sleep with "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" when he was 8 years old and terrified of thunderstorms. Say, "I hope that isn't contagious." He'd listened to Catherine say, "Trash." And at the exact moment, Harold Bradshaw's hand closed around Eleanor's arm. Malcolm Holbrook was pressing the intercom on his desk and saying 6 words, very quietly, to his COO. "Warren, my office, right now." Back at the estate, the gravel kept crunching under Eleanor's shoes. Harold walked her past the last Bentley, past the cluster of valet keys, past the caterer's van, all the way to the small white security shed at the end of the driveway, where the Whitmore property line met the road. He opened the door. "Inside, ma'am." "Sir, I would very much like to leave." "I know, ma'am." "Sir." "Inside." He didn't push her. He just waited. Behind him, coming down the drive at a fast walk, were Catherine Whitmore and her son Preston. Catherine's heels clicked on the gravel like a countdown. Eleanor stepped inside the shed. Harold closed the door behind her. The security shed was hot. That was the first thing Eleanor noticed. No AC. Just a dusty window unit that had stopped working sometime in August. A metal desk. A metal folding chair. A calendar on the wall from a plumbing supply company, turned to the wrong month. Harold stood by the door with his arms crossed. He wouldn't look at her. "Sir, I'd like to call my son." "Not right now, ma'am." "Sir, my phone is in my bag. I just want to—" "Ma'am, please, just sit down." The door banged open. Catherine Whitmore walked in with her heels still on the gravel, furious pink climbing up her neck. Preston ducked in behind her, grinning like a boy who'd been promised ice cream. The shed was suddenly too small for 4 people. Eleanor pressed her back against the metal desk. "Open that bag." "Ma'am?" "The bag. Open it. Right now." "Ma'am, I'd like to go home." "You'll go home when I say you go home." "Harold, take the bag." Harold didn't move. A full second passed. Catherine's head snapped toward him like a whip. "Harold!" He reached for the tote. Eleanor let him take it. He set it gently on the metal desk. "Dump it," Catherine said. "Mrs. Whitmore, dump it." He turned the tote upside down. Everything Eleanor owned on this earth that she was carrying that morning fell out onto the desk. Her wallet, $38 in cash, a Costco card, a Kroger senior discount flyer with a coupon circled in pen. Her reading glasses are in a soft case, a small pill organizer Monday through Sunday, a linen handkerchief that had belonged to her mother, a tube of Vaseline, a yellow-wrapped children's book, and her phone, face down, screen still lit. Preston saw it first. "Hold on." He reached across the desk and picked it up, turned it over. Eleanor watched his grin evaporate in real time. "The call's still running." "What?" "Mom, this call has been running since... Jesus, 19 minutes. Catherine's face went still. "End it." "Mom, end the call, Preston." He swiped. The screen went dark. He turned the phone around so she could see the contact name. Malcolm, 1942. Catherine exhaled through her nose. "Who is Malcolm?" Eleanor looked up from the desk. Her voice was very quiet. "That's my son." Preston laughed. It came out too loud. "Oh, great! Your son! What's he gonna do, Miss Eleanor? Drive up in his Honda and save you? Is he a pastor? A youth minister? What?" Eleanor didn't answer. Catherine started circling her. Slow, heels clicking on the concrete floor. 1 lap. 2. "I think you took something." Eleanor's head came up. "Ma'am, I had a pair of sapphire earrings on the foyer credenza. I set them down to adjust my bracelet. Now they're not there." "Ma'am, I was never in the foyer past the front door. I never..." "Didn't you?" "No, ma'am." "Harold, did she go further than the front door?" Harold was quiet for a long, long moment. He looked at the concrete floor. "No, ma'am, she didn't." "Excuse me?" "Ma'am, she did not go further than the foyer. I was standing right there." Catherine's head tilted at him. A slow, dangerous tilt. "Harold, how long have you worked for this family?" 9 years, ma'am." 9 years. And in those 9 years, have I ever been wrong?" Harold didn't answer. "Check her pockets." "Mrs. Whitmore, check her pockets." He stepped forward. He looked at Eleanor. His eyes said, "I am so sorry." His hands did what they were told. Eleanor lifted her arms away from her sides, the way a woman does at an airport security checkpoint. Harold patted down her hips. The pockets of her beige dress were empty. Of course they were empty. The dress didn't even have real pockets, just 2 fake slits sewn into the fabric for decoration. He stepped back. "Nothing, ma'am." "Check her again." "Ma'am, there's nothing there." "She's hiding them." Eleanor's free hand went to her chest. It happened slowly. Just a small flutter first. A tightness. She'd had a mild arrhythmia diagnosed 3 years ago. Nothing dangerous, her cardiologist said, as long as she avoided stress. She sat down without being told. The metal folding chair squeaked under her weight. "I need water, please. Ma'am, please. A glass of water." Catherine rolled her eyes so hard her head moved with them. "Oh, Jesus Christ, the waterworks. You people are so predictable." That word again. You people. Preston snickered. Mom, that's gold." Eleanor's hand pressed harder against her sternum. The flutter was not slowing down. She closed her eyes for a second, counted to 4 in, 6 out, the way her cardiologist had taught her. In, out. In, out. "Ma'am," she opened her eyes. "I am 68 years old. I have a heart condition. I am begging you, let me go home." Catherine stared at her. "Harold, call the sheriff's office. I want this on record as a trespassing report. Now." Harold's hand moved toward his radio slowly. the way a man moves toward a gun he doesn't want to fire. Mrs. Whitmore, ma'am, with respect, this is not trespassing. She has an invitation. I watched her hand it to you. If we call the sheriff, we are the ones who— Harold, do you know what I pay you? Ma'am, do you know what it costs to put your granddaughter through that private school in Dunwoody? Because I've seen the tuition. I cut the check for half of it last December as a Christmas bonus. Remember that? Harold's jaw locked. So I am going to tell you one more time. Call the sheriff. Or I will find someone who understands who writes the checks in this house. Are we clear? Harold closed his eyes for one full second. Then he keyed his radio. This is Bradshaw at the Whitmore residence. Request a unit for a trespassing complaint. Suspicious individual detained on property. Let me take you across town for a second. 34th floor, Midtown Atlanta. Malcolm Holbrook was still sitting at his desk. The phone in front of him had gone dark when Preston swiped the call off. But Malcolm hadn't moved. He hadn't blinked. He was looking at the picture frame on his desk. The faded 1994 Little League photo, his mother in the teacher's cardigan, her arm around his 8-year-old shoulders. Warren Sutton walked into the office. Navy sweater, glasses pushed up on his forehead. Mal, what's going on? Your assistant said, close the door. Warren closed the door. Malcolm slid the phone across the desk. Listen to the last 22 minutes. Start at timestamp 0. Warren picked up the phone. He pulled one earbud out of his pocket, plugged it in, pressed play. He listened for 40 seconds. His face changed. Another 40 seconds. He pulled the earbud out. Mal, keep listening. Mal, where? The Whitmore estate. Buckhead. Warren's eyes went flat. Oh no. Pull the Whitmore file. Mal, pull it. Every page. Credit facility, covenant schedule, shell structure, MAC clauses, all of it. Mal, the signing is Monday, 46 hours from now. If we pull, I know what happens if we pull it. Warren stared at him. Then, very slowly, he walked around to the computer, sat down, and opened the encrypted folder. And there it was. $900 million. A revolving credit facility anchored by Holbrook Capital Partners through 3 offshore special-purpose vehicles so Gregory Whitmore would never know whose money was saving him. The only thing keeping Whitmore Industrial Holdings from tripping 3 bond covenants at once. The only thing keeping 5,212 employees, Warren had memorized that number last week, employed past Christmas. Malcolm said, Material adverse clause, reputational risk. Draft the letter. Mal, listen to me for 1 second. You cannot uncook this. If we pull this, their covenants trip Monday at 9:01. Their rating goes to junk by Tuesday. By Friday, the family is— Warren. Yeah. Play the file again. Start at minute 14. Warren pressed play, and there it was. Tinny, but unmistakable. Catherine Whitmore's voice, saying, You people are so predictable. Then Eleanor's voice, saying, I have a heart condition. I am begging you, let me go home. Then the sound of a radio keying up. This is Bradshaw at the Whitmore residence. Request a unit for a trespassing complaint. Warren closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. Draft the letter, Mal. I'll have it to legal in 10. Back at the estate, in the hot shed, Eleanor's phone lit up on the metal desk. Incoming FaceTime. Malcolm. Preston saw it, smirked, picked it up. Oh, this'll be good. Let's see who Malcolm is. He swiped to answer. The face on the screen was not what Preston Whitmore expected. He'd expected a pastor, or a delivery driver in a polo shirt, or a youth minister with a cheap haircut and a wooden cross on a string. What he got was a black man in a charcoal suit, sitting perfectly still behind a glass desk, floor-to-ceiling windows of the Atlanta skyline stretching out behind him. Calm face, tie loosened half an inch, no anger at all, which somehow was worse. And over his left shoulder, etched into brushed steel on the back wall of the office, 4 words Preston had seen on a contract on his father's desk 72 hours earlier. Holbrook Capital Partners. Preston's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Hand the phone to my mother," Malcolm said. "Please." Preston didn't move. "Son, right now." Preston handed her the phone. Eleanor's hand was shaking so badly she almost dropped it. "Baby. Mama, are you hurt?" "A bruise, sweetheart, on my arm, that's all." "Your heart, how's your heart?" "It's slowing down now. I'm okay." "I need you to do 3 things for me, Mama." "Okay." "Walk to the door. Hand this phone to the deputy when he arrives. Then go sit in your car. Lock the doors. I'm sending someone for you. You do not speak to anyone else until she gets there. You understand me, Mama?" "Yes, baby." "I love you." "I love you too." She stood up from the folding chair. Catherine took a half step into her path. Eleanor walked right around her. Harold Bradshaw opened the shed door without being asked. Eleanor walked out into the October sun. Inside the shed, Catherine Whitmore stared at the phone screen, at the Holbrook Capital logo, at the calm black man behind the glass desk. Her mouth was doing something she couldn't control. "I'm sorry, who are you exactly?" Malcolm didn't answer her, because right then the shed door opened again, and a Fulton County deputy walked in with his thumb on his radio. "Ma'am? Sir? I got dispatched on a trespassing." "Deputy," Eleanor's voice from outside. "The man on this phone would like to speak with you." She handed him the phone through the door. The deputy, mid-30s, neat mustache, name tag reading Deputy Miles Abernathy, took it. Looked at the screen. Looked at the logo. His face did a small, quick thing. "Sir, this is Deputy Abernathy, Fulton County." "Deputy, my name is Malcolm Holbrook. I'm the chairman of Holbrook Capital Partners. For the last 24 minutes, I have been on an open line with my mother, Eleanor Holbrook. That line was recorded in full. Every second of it is on my firm's server and on my mother's device. I want to be very clear with you. You are not in trouble. But you are standing next to 2 people who have falsely imprisoned, unlawfully searched, and slandered my 68-year-old mother while she was having a cardiac episode. How would you like to handle that, Deputy?" Deputy Abernathy did not answer for almost 4 seconds. Then he said, very calmly, "Sir, I'll handle it. You have my word." He lowered the phone, turned around, looked at Catherine Whitmore. "Ma'am, step away from the door, please." "Excuse me? Deputy, I am the one who called you." "Ma'am, step away from the door. Hands where I can see them. Sir," to Preston, "you too. Against that wall. Now." Catherine made a sound that was half a laugh and half a gasp. "Do you know who my husband is?" "Ma'am, I'm aware. I also know who just identified himself on that phone. And I'll be honest with you. I'd rather explain to Gregory Whitmore why I detained his wife than explain to Malcolm Holbrook why I didn't. Against the wall. Now." Catherine's face cracked. Something behind her eyes went loose. Out on the gravel, heavy footsteps. Gregory Whitmore was coming down the drive at a run, robe open over his shirt, face gray. He'd heard the commotion from his study. He saw the deputy, saw his wife with her back to a wall, saw his son white as a sheet, saw the phone in the deputy's hand and the logo on the screen. He said one word, very softly. No. Dad. Preston's voice had gone up an octave. Dad, the guy on the phone. His name is Holbrook. Gregory's knees almost gave. Deputy, please, may I speak to him? The deputy looked at the screen. Malcolm nodded once. The deputy handed over the phone. Mr. Holbrook, Gregory Whitmore. There's been... Please, let me... Mr. Whitmore. Malcolm's voice was flat, polite, final. At 11 a.m. Monday, Holbrook Capital Partners was scheduled to anchor your $900 million revolving credit facility through 3 special-purpose entities. As of 8 minutes ago, we are invoking the material adverse clause in Section 4.3 of our term sheet. Formal withdrawal is with your counsel's inbox as we speak. Mr. Holbrook, please, whatever has... Your wife called my mother trash, Mr. Whitmore. Your son laughed. Your security dumped her purse on a table while she was having a heart episode. Tell me, which part of that would you like me to reconsider? Silence. That's what I thought. The line went dead. For about 10 seconds, nobody in the shed moved. Gregory Whitmore was holding a phone that had gone dark in his hand. His mouth kept opening like he was going to say something, then closing again because his brain couldn't finish the sentence. Preston had slid down the wall until he was sitting on the concrete floor. Catherine was breathing through her teeth. Deputy Abernathy took the phone back from Gregory's limp hand. Mr. Whitmore, sir, I'm going to need you to step outside with me for a moment. Deputy, I wasn't even out here. I understand, sir. Outside, please. Out on the gravel, Eleanor Holbrook was walking slowly toward her Honda. Her hand was still pressed to her chest. She reached the driver's door, fumbled with the key fob, and sat down sideways in the seat with her feet still on the ground. She closed her eyes. The black SUV pulled up the drive exactly 4 minutes later. Eleanor didn't open her eyes right away. She heard the doors. She heard 2 sets of footsteps fast on the gravel. Mrs. Holbrook, my name is Patricia. I'm a registered nurse. Your son sent me. Can I check your pulse, ma'am? Eleanor opened her eyes. Patricia was a middle-aged woman in scrubs, kind face, soft hands, already lifting Eleanor's wrist. Behind her stood a tall driver in a dark suit, engine still running, back door already open. Mama Holbrook, pulse is a little fast but steady. Let's get you in the car. We're going to sit with the AC on and let your heart come down, okay? I've got water. I've got your meds if you need them. Your boy already called ahead to Emory Cardiology. They're standing by if we need them. Eleanor let herself be helped into the SUV. The leather was cool. Patricia put a bottle of water in her hand. The driver shut the door gently. The AC breathed across Eleanor's face, and for the first time in 40 minutes, she let her shoulders drop. Across the gravel, Deputy Abernathy was on his radio. Dispatch. Abernathy at the Whitmore residence. I need 2 additional units, and I need Sergeant Ruiz on scene. I'm looking at false imprisonment, unlawful search, and a possible civil rights referral. I also need EMS to confirm subject is stable before they transport off property. Copy? Copy, Abernathy. ETA 11 minutes. Catherine Whitmore heard false imprisonment through the open shed door and made a sound like a small animal stepping on glass. Deputy, listen to me. That woman came onto my property. She was... Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one time to stop talking. Anything you say right now can be used in a report that I am very much going to write. But Ma'am. Catherine stopped talking. Inside the shed, Harold Bradshaw was sitting on the metal folding chair with his elbows on his knees and his face in his hands. He wasn't crying. He was somewhere worse than crying. He was 2 years from retirement. He had a granddaughter named Lily in a private school in Dunwoody. He had just put his own hand on a 68-year-old woman's arm hard enough to leave a bruise because his boss had looked at him a certain way. He said, to no one in particular, "Oh God, what did I do?" Deputy Abernathy stepped into the shed doorway. "Mr. Bradshaw, stand up, please. I need your radio, your estate credentials, and your firearm if you're carrying one. You're not under arrest, but I'm going to need you to ride back to the station with me and give a statement. That all right?" Harold stood up. He handed over everything without a word. Out by the SUV, Patricia was reading Eleanor's blood pressure off a cuff. 142/88, coming down. You're okay, Mama Holbrook. You're okay. Is my son? He's on the line right now in my earpiece. Want me to patch you in? Please. Patricia tapped her earpiece and handed Eleanor a second phone. Mama. Baby. You're okay? I'm okay, son. I'm coming to the house. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Don't you do anything stupid, Malcolm Holbrook. A pause. Then, very quietly, Mama, it's already done. Back at the 34th floor office, Warren Sutton was standing over the printer as the formal withdrawal letter spat out, page by page. 31 pages. Signed, stamped, CC'd to 4 ratings agencies, 2 major banks, and 1 business reporter at the Wall Street Journal. He hit send at 12:04 p.m. By 2 p.m., Moody's had flagged Whitmore Industrial Holdings for imminent downgrade review. By 4 p.m., 2 backup lenders Gregory frantically called had already heard and politely declined. By 6 p.m., the Whitmore family's largest bondholder was demanding an emergency board meeting. And the sun hadn't even set. Sunday morning, 11:46 a.m., an email hit the inbox of Lillian Carver, senior investigative reporter at the Atlanta Sentinel. No subject line, no signature. 1 attachment. A 24-minute audio file named simply Whitmore_10_04.m4a. Lillian was eating cereal at her kitchen counter. She plugged in her earbuds. She did not finish the cereal. By Monday 2 p.m., she had verified the audio with 3 independent voice analysts. By Monday 6 p.m., she had confirmed Deputy Miles Abernathy's incident report with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. By Tuesday 4 a.m., she had the quotes from Eleanor's cardiologist confirming a documented cardiac event that afternoon. By Tuesday 5 a.m., she hit publish. The headline ran across the front page of the Sentinel, and within 90 minutes, every major network feed in the country. CEO's mother called trash at Whitmore Gala. $900 million deal vanishes in hours. The audio did not just go viral. It melted the internet. Catherine Whitmore's voice, "You people are so predictable," became the single most replayed 3-second soundbite on social media that week. 68 million views on the clip alone by Wednesday. Eleanor's quiet, shaking voice, "I am 68 years old. I have a heart condition. I am begging you," was stitched into tribute videos, played on morning shows, and set against footage of Eleanor's former students standing on the steps of Sumner Elementary holding handmade signs that said, "We love you, Mama Holbrook." And then the old stories started surfacing. A black valet from a 2019 Whitmore Christmas party came forward with a written statement describing the night Catherine made him cry in front of the coat check. A former Whitmore Foundation administrator, a Latina woman named Sofia Delgado, provided 4 years of internal emails in which Catherine referred to staff as the help, the crew, and, in one memorable 2022 thread, the zoo. A former housekeeper described being fired for taking Christmas Day off to bury her own mother. By Thursday afternoon, hashtag Eleanor Holbrook was the #1 trending hashtag in the United States. By Friday morning, Whitmore Industrial Holdings had lost $312 million in market capitalization. By the following Monday, 3 major clients had suspended or terminated contracts. A national logistics firm walked from an $84 million renewal. A defense prime quietly informed Gregory that his subcontract was under review pending reputational assessment. The municipal HVAC contract with the city of Atlanta, $22 million over 3 years, was pulled the same afternoon by a city council that had been handed a perfect opportunity. The Whitmore Industrial Board called an emergency session that Wednesday night. Gregory Whitmore, 61 years old, the third-generation heir of a company his grandfather had built from a single sheet metal shop in 1952, was asked to step down as CEO. The vote was unanimous. Gregory signed the resignation at 8:56 p.m., stood up, and walked out of the boardroom without a word. Preston was fired for cause at 9:02. Meanwhile, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office was moving fast. Catherine Whitmore was charged with false imprisonment, unlawful search, and violation of Georgia civil rights statute. Preston was charged with aiding and abetting and, after his phone records were subpoenaed, witness tampering. He had tried to delete text messages to Harold Bradshaw and to the caterer who'd witnessed the foyer incident. He had not understood that Apple's cloud backup retained deleted messages for 30 days. It did. The prosecutors had them all. Harold Bradshaw was offered a plea deal in exchange for full testimony. He took it. The civil trial, Holbrook versus Whitmore et al., began 6 weeks later in Fulton County Superior Court. Presiding, Judge Margaret Ellison, 22 years on the bench. The kind of judge who did not tolerate theater. The courtroom was packed. Former students of Eleanor's filled 3 full rows. A woman who was now a pediatric surgeon in Birmingham had flown in. A man who was now a Fulton County firefighter had taken a personal day. A woman in her 40s, now a public defender, sat in the second row with her head bowed. Harold Bradshaw took the stand on day 3. He was sworn in. The prosecutor asked him to describe what happened in the shed. He described it, voice flat, hands clasped in his lap. Then the prosecutor asked, "Mr. Bradshaw, why did you do it?" Harold looked up. His eyes were wet. He looked directly at Eleanor, who was sitting in the front row in a plum-colored dress, her hands folded on her lap. "Mrs. Whitmore told me to do it. I knew it was wrong. I knew it the moment I put my hand on her arm. I did it because Mrs. Whitmore paid half my granddaughter's tuition. I will regret that until the day I die." He turned toward Eleanor directly. "Mrs. Holbrook, I am so sorry, ma'am. I have no excuse. I am so sorry." Eleanor closed her eyes for a long moment, then opened them and nodded once. That clip ran on cable news for 6 straight days. Catherine Whitmore's defense was short. Her own attorney, Douglas Faulkner, barely made eye contact with the jury. The jury deliberated for 93 minutes. Catherine Whitmore, guilty of false imprisonment, guilty of unlawful search, guilty of civil rights violation under state statute. Sentenced to 18 months, 12 suspended, plus 400 hours of community service to be served at Judge Ellison's specific order, inside the Atlanta Public School System's Title I elementary network, the system where Eleanor had taught for 31 years. Preston Whitmore, guilty of aiding and abetting. 6 months probation. Civil judgment against him personally. $1.8 million. Whitmore Industrial Holdings settled the civil rights portion of the case separately, behind closed doors. The final settlement figure was confidential, but 3 independent sources later confirmed to Lillian Carver that it exceeded $40 million. Every cent of that settlement was directed, at Eleanor's request, to 2 places: the Atlanta Public School Title I system and a scholarship fund established in her name for students pursuing careers in early childhood education. She wanted the money where it could raise another Eleanor. Catherine's charity boards, all 11 of them, removed her within a week. The Glenmore Country Club quietly revoked her membership by a unanimous board vote. Preston's MBA alumni network rescinded his mentorship title. Gregory, who had not participated in any of it, quietly sold the Buckhead estate within 6 months and moved to a small townhouse in Savannah. He never made a public statement again. Eleanor Holbrook was invited onto a national morning show. She declined. Instead, she sent a handwritten statement. "I didn't want to be famous. I wanted to go to a party with a children's book in my hand. I hope the next black woman who gets invited to a gala like that one, or the next anybody at all, gets to walk through the door, find her seat, and read her story out loud." 1 year later, a Saturday morning in October. The same kind of soft, white October light that had fallen across the Whitmore driveway 12 months earlier. Only this time, the light was falling on a different building in a different zip code. A converted red brick community center in Decatur, Georgia, with a new sign over the door in hand-painted letters. The Holbrook Decatur Reading Center. 312 children were enrolled in the first semester. Free tutoring, free books, free snacks, free transportation home. A $12 million endowment funded personally by Malcolm Holbrook, administered by a small board that included, as its first and permanent chair, a 69-year-old retired third-grade teacher named Eleanor Holbrook. The ribbon cutting was small. No press. No cameras beyond one local reporter Eleanor had said yes to because she'd gone to school with Eleanor's niece. A red ribbon. A pair of big silver scissors. A crowd of parents and kids on folding chairs. Eleanor wore the same beige Dillard's dress. She stepped up to a small podium. She didn't use notes. "When I was 8 years old, my mama told me something I want to tell you all today. She said, 'Eleanor, the world is going to try to tell you who you are. And most of the time, the world is going to be wrong. Your job, baby, is to keep reading, because books will tell you the truth when people won't.'" She opened the book in her hands. Brown bear, what do you see?" The same yellow ribbon is still tied around the spine. She began to read. A small boy in the front row, maybe 6, missing his 2 front teeth, raised his hand halfway through. Eleanor paused mid-sentence. "Yes, baby?" "Miss Eleanor, is it true a mean lady made you cry one time?" The room went a little quiet. Eleanor smiled. A real smile, the kind that started at the corners of her eyes. "She tried, sweetheart. She did try. But you know what?" "What?" "I had 3 good boys at home, and one of them answered the phone." The kids laughed. A few of the parents did too, a little wet around the eyes. At the back of the room, Malcolm Holbrook stood against the wall with his hands in his pockets, watching his mother read. Warren Sutton stood next to him. "You ever think," Warren said quietly, that maybe you went a little too hard on them? Malcolm didn't answer right away. He watched his mother turn a page, watched the kid in the front row copy the hand motion she made. Then, without taking his eyes off the scene, he said, "Warren, the day somebody calls your mama trash, and a deputy has to stop and decide whether to arrest her because a rich white woman threw a tantrum in her own driveway, that's the day you find out what your money is actually for." And what is it for? Malcolm thought about it for a second. Making sure my mother never has to say please to somebody like Catherine Whitmore again. And making sure the next Eleanor, the one whose son isn't a CEO, still has a lawyer, a witness, and a ride home. Warren nodded slowly, didn't say anything. At the front of the room, Eleanor turned another page, and 312 kids leaned forward to hear what came next. Here's what I want you to walk away with. Power isn't how loud you are at a gala. Power is who picks up when you call. Dignity doesn't come from a dress or a zip code. Dignity comes from the person who raised you. And the most dangerous person in any room is never the loudest one. It's the quiet one, holding a children's book and a phone that's been recording for 24 minutes. Catherine Whitmore thought she saw trash on her front steps. She actually saw a retired school teacher who'd raised a son that could erase her entire life in one phone call. You don't get to pick which strangers matter. You just get to decide how you treat them. And the universe? The universe keeps receipts. So let me ask you something real. If you were Malcolm, sitting at that desk, listening to your mother's voice shake through the phone, would you have pulled the $900 million in 4 minutes? Or would you have waited, called, given them one chance to apologize first? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you'd draw the line. If you believe Eleanor deserved better, smash that like button. Share this with somebody who needs the reminder that quiet people are not weak people. And hit subscribe. Next week's story is about a janitor who inherited a hotel chain and the manager who fired him on his first day. I'm out. Take care of your mama. I'll see you next week.
Catherine called her trash. 900 million vanished before sunset. And a year later, Eleanor was reading Brown Bear to 300 kids in the center that bear her name. But here what hit me hardest. When they asked Malcolm if he went too far, he said, "The day somebody called your mama trash is the day you find out what your money is actually for." And I felt that, because most of us will never have $900 million, but all of us will face a moment when protecting someone we love costs something real, a job, a friendship, a seat at the table we work hard to get. And in that moment, you find out who you actually are. Not who you say you are online, who you are. When doing the right thing is expensive, and you do it anyway. That's the real matter. Not what you give when it's easy, what you sacrifice when it's hurt. Have you ever given up something valuable to protect someone you love? What did it cost you? Would you do it again? Tell me in the comment. If it hit you, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell. We tell this story every week. Doing the right thing is easy when it's free. The real test is when it costs you everything. Remember that.